The biggest name in hoops is crossing the aisle for a doubleheader event on Sunday Night Basketball, effectively punching her ticket to the association for a limited engagement. On Tuesday, the Peacock Network broke the silence, revealing that the Indiana Fever sensation and culture-shifting icon is set to take center stage during the pre-tip analysis for the grand premiere of their Sunday primetime slot. Right at the moment you assumed the Clark hype train had hit its peak, or that she was kicking back to recharge before the next WNBA campaign, the broadcasters detonated a massive update that has rattled the cages of the entire athletic landscape. Good to have you here for another intense look at the economics of the hardwood, where today we are bypassing the grapevine and skipping the what-ifs. We are discussing a verified power play that plants Caitlin Clark squarely in the spotlight of the nation's premier athletic arena, the National Basketball Association. Your ears are not deceiving you. Clark is formally bridging the gap to the men's league, not to suit up on the court, but to serve as the figurehead for the colossal resurrection of basketball night in America. The magnitude here is off the charts when you consider the tactical timing, especially since the network is reclaiming professional hoops after a 20-year hiatus. They secured the broadcast license, capitalized on the fond memories, and dusted off that legendary round ball rock anthem. Yet a crucial piece was missing. The executives required a catalyst, a contemporary superstar, to weave together the diehards from the 90s Jordan age and the TikTok generation. So, who was their first pick? Did they dial up King James? Did they reach out to Chef Curry? Absolutely not. They tapped the 22-year-old prodigy from the Hawkeye State who single-handedly transformed the women's game. For the premiere, they selected her to light the fuse. They didn't want a mid-season cameo or a slow rollout. They said, no, we need you to ignite the rocket right now. They require her star power to cut the ribbon. So let us dissect the specifics because the nuances are mesmerizing. Clark is scheduled to grace the screen on February 1st, setting the table for the Lakers and Knicks showdown at the Garden. It is impossible to orchestrate a more grandiose theater than the Mecca of hoops, featuring the King, the Big Apple, and Clark commanding the broadcast booth. This is a textbook example of promotional genius, as she prepares to sit alongside a studio crew comprised of certified immortals. The lineup features none other than Carmelo Anthony, Vince Carter, and Tracy McGrady. That is a trio of Hall of Fame inductees and three of the most lethal bucket getters to ever lace up sneakers. Perched right beside these titans will be Clark, dissecting the action, reading the floor, and broadcasting her elite court vision to a global audience. So, what is the network's motivation here? Let us be honest. They did not offer this contract simply because she has a pleasant personality. They made the move because she is a viewership monster. Just recall the frenzy that occurred on their streaming platform during her NCAA tenure. When the network locked her historic performance behind a subscription barrier, the masses swarmed in with credit cards just to catch a glimpse. They recognize that her influence is tangible and are betting the house that she can migrate those obsessive loyalists over to their professional men's broadcast. The executives are leveraging her luminosity to ignite the engines of their costliest and most vital athletic asset. This singular decision reveals the exact altitude of her position within the current sporting food chain. She has transcended being merely a professional athlete to become an international trademark, yet there is a more complex undercurrent to this narrative. Examine the calendar closely. She appears on February 1st and makes her encore on March 29th for the clash between New York and Oklahoma City. The scheduling is calculated, placing her first appearance just prior to the All-Star festivities and the second right on the eve of the Women's League training camps. This ensures she remains in the cultural conversation, maintains her relevance, and keeps the Fever logo circulating during the quiet months. Furthermore, we cannot overlook the massive looming variable, which is the possibility of a work stoppage in the Women's League. Should the schedule face a postponement, a scenario many pundits anticipate, this broadcasting role could easily grow in scope. We might witness Clark evolving into a staple of Sunday evenings, effectively serving as the ambassador of the sport on television while the collective bargaining stalls. It acts as a genius contingency strategy for her brand, but I want you to visualize the chemistry unfolding in that studio. On one side, you have Vinsanity, the premier aerial artist in history, and McGrady, arguably the most fluid, offensive weapon to ever play. Add to that Anthony, the sovereign ruler of the mid-post, contrasted with Clark, the empress of the shot from the half-court logo. The dialogue regarding bucket getting, floor geometry, and defensive dissection is going to be absolute paradise for hoopheads. I can practically envision the trending highlights already, with Clark grilling Anthony on the mechanics of his triple threat move, or Carter inquiring about how she generates power from 30 feet out. Viewing these icons respect her as a contemporary and an intellectual equal is going to be appointment television that drastically elevates how the public views the women's sport. There is also a tantalizing hint regarding what viewers can expect during her inaugural segment. The producers intend to put the rock in her hands, live on air, and that is a promise, not a rumor. Hold up, surely you are not just dangling that bait. You aren't actually hinting at the sneaker reveal, are you? Hey, no games. While we are discussing internet-breaking headlines, executive producer Sam Flood unleashed a serious spoiler, mentioning they want Caitlin on set with a ball in her hands. But what is the actual play here? Are we gearing up for a three-point showdown against the legendary Reggie Miller if he swings by the studio? Could we be witnessing a masterclass where she dissects the science behind her own lethal shooting form? Or, and this is the wild theory currently setting social media ablaze, are we about to see the world premiere of her signature footwear? Nike has been incredibly tight-lipped about the drop. And honestly, what grander stage exists than Madison Square Garden on national TV with millions of eyes glued to the screen? That would be, without a doubt, the ultimate power move in marketing history. Doubters might argue, she is too green, she lacks the reps, but pause and remember that this woman has lived her entire existence through a lens. She crushed that Manning-cast-style alternate stream during the Final Four, proving she is witty, authentic, hilarious, and sharp as a tack. She stepped into the Yankees broadcast booth and commanded the room with zero hesitation. She thrives under the bright lights, and quite frankly, her basketball genius is simply off the charts. She visualizes the court unlike anyone else. She spots geometric angles and passing lanes that leave others scratching their heads, and bringing that visionary mindset to an NBA booth is the spark we need. It is thrilling, and it provides exactly the kind of fresh energy NBC needs to break away from the stale, robotic commentary plaguing other networks. Furthermore, this move welds a massive, tangible link between the NBA and the WNBA. For ages, the leagues felt like distant cousins, but putting the face of women's hoops in the analyst chair builds a permanent bridge. It sends a loud message to the NBA diehard. Listen, if you value her brain, you have to respect her game. It is cross-promotion gold, and it will pay out massive dividends for both sides, especially with WNBA ratings already exploding. However, putting her in front of the casual Sunday night crowd could launch the league into the stratosphere once the season officially tips off. And let's not overlook the absolute business genius of Caitlin herself. She is already locked in with Xfinity, a subsidiary of Comcast, which just so happens to be the parent company of NBC. The corporate synergy was written in the stars, but watching it execute with such speed is breathtaking. She is maximizing every dollar, crafting a post-game legacy at just 22 years old, and securing her spot as a media titan. Most athletes wait for retirement to pivot. Caitlin is building her empire while reigning as arguably the most famous athlete in the States. That represents a level of hustle we rarely witness. So, what is the vibe for February 1st? I predict electric energy, profound basketball breakdowns, and NBC rolling out the absolute red carpet for her. There is no way they leave her in the background. She will be front and center, likely dissecting the action. Imagine her decoding the Lakers' schemes, critiquing LeBron's vision, or analyzing Jalen Brunson's footwork. Hearing her take on current superstars will be riveting because her style mirrors the modern NBA game perfectly. Deep threes, rapid pace, and wide spacing, she is the prototype analyst for this specific era of hoops. Plus, there is the undeniable cool factor. Let's be honest, pregame shows often feel dusty with veterans rambling about the good old days. Caitlin injects youth. She screams relevance. She speaks the language of the next generation. Her presence instantly transforms the broadcast into something vibrant, fresh, and essential viewing. NBC knows they need to hook the TikTok demographic, and Caitlin Clark is the ultimate cheat code to make that happen. Bottom line, this scenario is a triple victory. It is a massive win for NBC, landing the biggest icon in sports, a win for the NBA, getting fresh eyes on the product, and a huge boost for Caitlin and the WNBA, expanding their global reach. February 1st is shaping up to be a landmark event. Circle the date, because Basketball Night in America is about to get way more interesting, and I suspect this is just chapter 1 of her media domination. Sound off in the comments. Are you watching specifically for Caitlin? And do you think she will outshine the legends at the desk? Personally, I would bet money on it. Smash that like button and subscribe to stay on top of this unfolding saga, and I will catch you in the next video.